This particular podcast was kind of a weird one. Scheduling got kind of nuts. I do have the last 15 minutes, the last half of this episode with David Imel talking about the fact that he was one of the only people who went out with this here phone, the Pixel 4, and actually did some proper astrophotography. And you might have seen his tweet because it went pretty viral, but I talked to him about the process, about how he kind of like achieved all of that, what tools he used, how he went out into like a rural place where there was like no light whatsoever, no light pollution from the cities. I thought it was super interesting. And since I, and actually we are all in the process of our Pixel 4 reviews, I thought that would be a great addition to the content. So I asked him to come on for a little bit. And also, when I was trying to get not only David, but also TK here, as you can see on the YouTube side, to come on the other day, I was having a lot of trouble with my voice. So we kind of forced that 15 minutes with David, and I kind of let him talk about the astrophotography stuff while I recovered a little bit. And now today, the day after what you're going to see later, I'm recovering from a wedding. And like
your wedding? No.
No one at Issa about this.
Issa, I'm just joking. Seriously.
Two of my favorite people in the world got married here in San Diego. It was a lovely, lovely wedding. The alcohol was flowing, so I guess you can tell from my voice that I've been recovering from it, and it's not even done yet. So after this, I'm actually going to another reception. But TK, I will say this. I am fortunate enough that not only have I been able to get the review unit for the Pixel 4 XL, I actually have another unit as well that I brought with me, and I didn't set it up at all. I just got past the initial startup, and at the table during our brunch reception, I told every one of my friends at that table, there were probably about a dozen of us, I said, hey guys, this other Pixel, I'm putting it right in the middle of the table. You guys can do whatever you want. Just make sure you take pictures, use the portrait mode, have fun.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those, someone actually made the comment that it was like me putting down a disposable camera.
I was about to say the exact same thing. I've had that happen where they just basically just go have at it, take pictures, whatever. The point is just to kind of experience or get the raw experience of that event without it being necessarily scripted by one person's point of view, right?
Exactly.
You're getting different people to play with it, which it's not a bad idea. It's a good way to, see how the Pixel performs and show people what it can do.
Yeah. And you know what I got to say? Like, everyone was impressed with the camera, and the reason why that I wanted to do it, and I'm going to put all of the footage and the photos together into like it's not even my final review. It's just going to be like a vlog, because I think that a wedding is the perfect setting for a Pixel 4 because of the portrait mode. And you know what? Okay. We've been getting like mashed in the face with all of these people going in different directions of, yeah, I wish the wide angle was there, or people telling us, and I'm sure you've gotten this, TK, as well, where people were like, the normal user, the average user, actually doesn't use wide enough. The majority of people out there pinch to zoom. Like, think of all of our parents or all of our more elderly users who always pinch to zoom on every phone they have, not realizing that they're losing all of the quality.
No, it's exactly, yeah. Go ahead, finish up your thought. I'll jump in after, yeah.
I was just going to say that this wedding was the perfect example, because we didn't even plan it this way. It's just that, we all wanted to sort of, like, me and my friends who all came to this wedding all wanted to kind of chill out together. So we sat in the back row, the very last row. And here I was zooming in 3, 5, and 8 times on the phone. And I gotta say, like, I don't know if I can really put up, I don't know which photos I can put up right now, but it did a fantastic job. So if I were to just do this, so we're in the back row. It was a small wedding. So actually, let me go to photos. I should do that, actually. So if I scroll down here and I show you what a photo looked like from 1x, so if hopefully there you go. Okay, so that's 1x right there. Okay, this was 5x, and it was able to get a lot of detail. It's not going to look great on the actual like video capture, but if I were to zoom in to this very photo, a lot of detail is there. Granted, because the subjects were far enough that I couldn't easily tap on the subject to make sure they were in focus. A few of these are a little bit blurred out, But you know what? Just by sheer quality alone, I'm looking at these photos. Like, you can even see the bride laughing in this photo at 5x.
Yeah, I can see it. I can even see it, and it's not that clear on the side. I can see her head's going a little bit back, and yeah, she's smiling.
I couldn't believe it. And
it's good.
It was one of the few situations of all time that I actually zoomed in, got some good results, and was impressed. And you were saying, TK, actually, since we've both been so busy over the last day or two.
Oh, yeah.
You had the same general experience just earlier today.
So for me, I spent the majority of today with my son at his swim meet, and all I can say is basically having to take pictures of your kid when he's across the pool and all the way very far from where you are. Having that flexibility of zoom and be able to actually get good pictures, like when you zoom in and you give it a second for it to kind of like stabilize itself, the pictures come out really surprising. They did a good job. At 2x, obviously, it performs the best, and the further you get in, you do lose a little bit, but it's not enough for it to become bad images. Mm-hmm. It looks great. It works nicely, and I like the fact that they went with this lens. So that's why I never harp too much on the fact that we didn't go with a wide over the zoom. I prefer it to be a triple camera setup. I think that's the combo that if we look at Huawei, if we look at Samsung and so on, they're all starting to adopt the triple camera setup, which I feel like we may get next year with the Pixel 5. Obviously, since the 4s, and we know the 3A for the most part won't, the 4A will probably be some type of a variance of what we have now. But I feel like it's a good lens. Let's put it that way. Whenever they do cameras, Google does it well, and they make sure that it works well.
Okay, so before we get too far into Pixel 4 talk, I did want to make sure I came on and talked about another development that happened from the Google side of things. And I guess I could start this off with a simple question that I know that we have tried to answer in the past. And it's, how much do you try to practice digital wellness?
I have to say I practice it very well at initial setup of said device. That's the best way to describe it. Whenever I get a new device and I go through the setup, I go through the options and so on, and I turn it on. And I like to use it for at least a couple of days and turn it on and start going through the data and seeing how many hours I'm spending in each app and the reality of what am I doing all day on my device. So I try to do it. But after a few days, for some reason, for me, the data, it just doesn't go, and I think we've talked about it before, like you said, it's the granularity of the data that generally just doesn't, so I was in Instagram for 2 hours, or I was, in a 3-hour marathon on TikTok. Don't ask me why I'm on. I am on TikTok, but it's hard to get out of that app. You get in, you're gone.
Oh, that's what I hear. That's why I haven't installed it yet.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. But just, your attention span becomes into... It's basically like Vine, but it is Vine, really, if you think about it. But anyways, I like it, and I use it for the first couple of days, and then afterwards, I realize that it also does impact a little bit on the battery, so I do turn it off.
Oh, yeah.
I start seeing it in my battery processes running in the background.
Well, so there's obviously that, where you go to the digital wellness. I guess on iPhones, you could call it screen time. That's the other way of putting it. And it's a way for you to see like what places you end up frequenting and staying in the most. I guess in TK's case, it would be Instagram, TikTok might be a little bit high on the list. In my case, it would be YouTube, absolutely, because I usually have something playing in the background. Like, that's just kind of how I am. I'm trying to break that. Anybody out there who might do the same, like, I always have a truly wireless earbud in, listening to YouTube videos as if they were podcasts. Not the best thing to do if you're not great at multitasking, and I'm good some days, terrible other days. But Google is really trying to put a lot of their best feet forward when it comes to digital wellness, and it also started it continued this past week with some apps that were released on the Google Experiments like Play Store account, I guess is the way to put it. Have you tried any of these? Because I have a couple that I have tried today, because I went to a wedding and I wanted to try to be as minimal as possible. Failed. Spoiler alert. But I wanted to see if you've tried any of them.
I saw them. I didn't get a chance to actually try them out yet, mostly because I'm knee deep in Techtober.
Yeah, I can see that too. And I've been trying to prioritize my mental health over anything this Techtober, so that's the reason why you may not have seen like a slew of videos in the past. TK is actually the person who said that for me, on my personal channel, I do content in bursts. I'm never like a every other day or every day type person. I want to be, don't get me wrong, but things happen. And my life and my work mesh so well together that you're seeing an example right now. I went to a wedding this morning. The reception is in about half an hour, and we're here recording a podcast. Like everything
Exactly. It's a simple. We're just chatting, and we just happen to be recording it, and it will be edited later.
Yeah, exactly. I'll edit it a little bit later, and everyone can enjoy.
Yeah.
So here's the first one. I mean, there are I think 4 or 5 apps. I installed 2. Okay.
Which 2 did you go with?
I went with, and this one, I'm actually looking at it right now, and I'm a little bit ashamed of myself, but I know why this happened. Okay, I know why this happened. I installed Unlock Clock, and it's basically a live wallpaper, which gives you a big, like, it's a good-looking counter, but it's counting how many times you unlocked your phone. I'm at 59, and it's not even dinner time yet. So I don't know what number I should be striving for, but this is telling me right now how much I have unlocked it, even though I was at a wedding for a good 4 hours earlier. And I don't know if I...
Before we go too far, are you using a wearable? Are you using a smartwatch of sorts?
Okay. I'm using a wearable, not right now, but I did actually just get my Focals by North.
Nice.
So I was using it with notifications and whatnot. And I did learn a couple of things as far as wearables are concerned. If you don't filter your notifications, you're getting everything into your smartwatch or your smart glasses in this case. So if something has not come in that is important, you don't have to touch your phone. Yeah. And the majority of the times that I touch my phone, especially today when using Unlock Clock for the first time, was not me checking if I got anything important, because I didn't. I got nothing important today, because I would have known if I did, they would have come up in the glasses. I was just unlocking it because it was a habit. I was just unlocking it because I was looking at something else. And for the most part, I was unlocking it because I was using the camera, so that's a little bit okay.
Well, you were at a wedding. It's a perfect picture taking opportunity. So you're right.
Yes,
but it does, and unfortunately, it doesn't discriminate between unlocking for the camera or unlocking for anything else. The moment you unlock,
that's what the digital wellness app is for.
That one tells you where you were in, but this counts just the unlock. So you have to think about, what's the, I would say, like the normalizing factor of that 59. Maybe, 10, 20 of those were taking pictures at a wedding. If you didn't have that, obviously that number would be lower. But that's why you want to do it over like a week or so to actually kind of get the median, kind of like figure out what it is.
This was a one-day thing, and it was also a very specific day. So I'm looking at it right now, and again, like I said before, YouTube is still at the most. But second place, in a very strong second place, is camera usage, and that makes sense. Yeah. Also, the digital, by the way, it's not digital wellness, it's digital well-being, I just realized.
Well, the wellness is on Samsung devices, so it depends. It's the digital well-being is the actual, the official one that from Google, so if you're picking up a Pixel device, but other OEMs they tend to change the name, but it's essentially the same thing.
Gotcha. So in terms of digital well-being on the Pixel 4, what it's showing me for today is that, YouTube was still top, because I did it was a very early wedding, so I had to wake up early for it. So for the entire time that I was getting ready to go to the wedding, I had YouTube like in the background, like listening to stuff. So that's one thing. And also digital well-being, it counts your unlocks anyway. So this particular live wallpaper is just feeding off of an already built-in data point from digital well-being. So
that's good.
Yeah. No. So do you ever track your like unlocks? Is that something that you ever think about?
I did at one point, but I have different ways of interacting with my data. So I get my notifications synced up to my PC, so I don't actually even have to turn on the phone.
Oh yeah.
And I also do wear I think this is the Huawei Watch GT. So for the most part, unless it's an important thing, I don't look at my phone. Mm-hmm. But I would probably venture to say I'm around 30 to 40. I'm not going to lie. Probably about 30 to 40 at least minimum unlocking a day. But like you said, it's hard to... It's the center of our day. It's the center of our business. It's the center of our experiences with people. Yeah. So anytime I want to experience something, and again, I was taking pictures and videos at a swim meet for my son, every time he came up, I was opening up, unlocking, taking pictures, and checking out those pictures and sharing them with family. So yeah, it racks up. Today is not a good example day. Yeah, it's like what everybody says: the diet starts tomorrow.
Yeah, right. And you know what? Like, it's also like it's emotionally draining in a way because here, I'll show you right now. Here, so I'll do this. Okay.
62. Oh, you went to 62 in the
yeah,
the
just
3
in the
minutes.
yeah, just in the amount of time that we were here because I had it standing, like using this this phone stand. I had standing and I did stuff. So if I go ahead and unlock it, face unlock, which by the way is working pretty well. And I go here and I go to my main screen. Look how slow it goes. 63. Like, it's just telling you like, oh, you did it again. Like, that's pretty much what it's doing.
Oh man, yeah, you can feel the guilt right there.
Exactly.
Great job, Google.
So this morning, another thing that I realized, and actually, you know what? The question of the episode is what I want to sort of pose to everybody. First of all, did anybody get a Pixel 4? And that's the first question I want to ask. What's your experience with the Pixel 4? Then the second question, because this is the other topic that we're talking about, is like, what is your digital well-being like? You know, what does it look like for you? Do you actually try to practice it? Have you tried these new applications from Google? But really, what are your main practices? That's like my number one question. I noticed though that this morning, when I was trying to get ready for this wedding, I realized that the reason why the number was rising so steadily was because I piecemeal my usage. Nothing is ever one go on my smartphone. So for example, I'll go into Gmail, I'll pull up an email, but then I will hit the power button, put it down because I'm doing something else. Then I'll pick it up after that, hit the power button, read the email that I pulled up in my last unlock. And then when I'm done reading that, like each tiny little thing on the phone is a task. And I guess it's a mindlessness type thing where it's just like such a ingrained part of my life that I seamlessly move and weave in and out of my smartphone rather than trying to do everything in one fell swoop, which I don't know which would be better, but that's what I kind of noticed. I kind of racked up 10 immediately just reading emails.
It is. It's a simple thing because you know if you need it, you jump back into it and there's no wait time. You just open up, unlock, get into it, and you're done. And we do that. It's just there's a lot of things grabbing our attention now. So it's not just your smartphone. It's everything else around you. You know, your TV, the radio, whatever. You're going out and you're trying to do so many things. I don't think it's a bad thing to have a high number as long as you're being mindful of what you're doing and you also understand that there's a purpose to it. It's not just mindless unlocking to look at if you have a notification and locking it again. I think that those are the empty ones that we don't want to do because at that point all you're thinking about is what's going on there. Having a wearable will circumvent some of those because you can technically see the notification, see if it's important or not without having to open up your phone. But if you don't, it does help you be more conscious. You know, knowing that you were in YouTube for 2-3 hours, or for me, TikTok for an hour and a half, makes me wonder what did I miss out on. Because as fun as it is being in there for that long, I missed out on a whole bunch of different things that I could have been doing, either shooting a video, editing a video. I could have shot and technically went like halfway through editing a video properly in that hour and a half that I just wasted sitting watching people, lip sync to some other stuff and making a few TikToks.
That's
I'm not
fine.
going to say I didn't. Yeah.
Well, it has made me a little bit more mindful for sure. And yeah, like there's I mean, the clickbaity title of a video like that would be like, you're using your wearables wrong. And like, because a lot of people just sort of like, they almost, I know I've done this. That's the reason why I say they, I don't mean to generalize, but I've done it where you take it for granted. You just absolutely take it for granted. When all of those notifications are coming in, you saw what you needed to see. There's literally no reason for you to open the phone unless you wanted to focus on other people's lives. And I'm talking from the social media perspective. In the focals, in these glasses, if I got an important message or email, I probably addressed it. So what am I unlocking my phone for?
It's a habit.
It's a habit.
It's a tick, man. We
scrolling through Instagram, watching YouTube, Twitter. I actually don't use Twitter as much as I use the other stuff. So
surprisingly, I think Instagram by far. I like the layout. I like the simplicity of it. Not to say that Twitter can't get it. Twitter can get just crazy like a wormhole. You have to kind of search. There's just so much into it. Instagram is a simple message. Check people's stories. Look at the pictures. and you can move on really
And
easily. I
it's
think
a
that's
visual
what.
thing too, which is the crazy
Very,
part.
yeah. Not a much reading. You don't even have to read the description. You could just see exactly what it is.
Exactly. So I got one more. We'll spend
Yeah.
another minute or two on this one. This one is a straight up launcher replacement, and I love the concept behind it. I think just conceptually, it's a very enjoyable idea. It's called Desert Island. So if you think about it, Desert Island. What are the X number of things that you would need if you were stranded on a desert island? That's basically what this is asking you. That's what it looks like. You get 7 apps. When you set up this application, you get 7 applications that you have access to via this launcher, and that's it. If you do really need to access other apps, you can hit that palm tree on the top and you get access to everything
Okay.
else. But it will tell you, I don't want to say shame you, but it will tell you.
It does actually. No, it does. There's a guilt factor into these things outside
Oh,
of
of course.
making sure that you're aware of it. But yeah, but
Well, I was
okay.
thinking about my work day, right? And I gave
Yeah.
myself some leeway. I took away YouTube, okay? So I
Okay.
gave myself Audible and Google Podcasts because I still like having something in the background, but maybe I can find something a little more productive than just like Game Grumps episodes or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I put Notion, which is my note-taking app, Telegram, so I can talk to people like UTK, the
Yep.
camera,
Me too.
obviously, Gmail, and then finally YouTube Studio because we are YouTubers.
I was gonna say that's like it's a necessity for us. But yeah.
The one that was missing at the wedding this morning was Instagram. So I could
You
post
couldn't post to
stories.
Instagram. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That was the deal breaker immediately once the wedding started, and I was like, "Oh, I can't post. All right, off." So
I'm
I
sorry.
can't.
I'm laughing, but I realized that I mean, it is a dilemma. You did hit it's a point of thing that obviously it takes a lot of, I would say, mindfulness to have digital well-being or digital wellness. It takes a lot of focus on it, and it's hard. It's not easy. It does take some work.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just really funny how that all worked out because I just sat there and I was like, all right, I'm at a wedding. I don't want to be distracted. Turn on the camera, hit share. It didn't let me go to Instagram. And I was like, oh, I can't. And I was joking with all my friends because they know what I do for a living and they've always
Yeah.
joked with me about it. Like, I can't be an influencer today. And they
Oh
were
my
just
God.
like, "Shut
Yeah.
up, Josh." And then I was like, "All right, fine. I'm gonna turn this off and go to Instagram. Screw it."
Oh, dude. It does take some time, and I think honestly, I think it's like it's a bad day to. It's like, not to quote an old movie, but it's if you remember the movie Airplane, where the guy kept saying, "This is a bad day for me to quick smoking, quick
Oh yeah,
drinking, all that." It's just wedding and events, big events. It's a little bit hard, but I think on a general day to day, you probably would have done quite well. But
yeah.
yeah,
I think it would have been all right. And also, I have to say, as far as it's funny how digital wellness could be achieved by adding more tech, and
yeah.
it's a weird way of looking at it. And having these on, I was literally watching the ceremony, and stuff was coming in.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, okay, swipe it away. Oh, okay, whatever. Oh, okay, swipe it away. And so in those moments, I was like, okay, yeah, I don't have to touch my phone at all. I love this. And then the Instagram thing happened. So, but yeah, I would encourage everyone to try these apps because they are really interesting concepts that I think we all need to be more into. That's why I wanted to talk about it today.
Yeah.
In TK, your case, I feel like you would actually be, like, aside from TikTok, I guess, I think you would actually be able to practice this a little bit better than me.
TK on TikTok. That's gonna rhyme. I'm gonna have to change that. It's a little bit. It's hard. You're right. It does take a lot of focus, but at the end of the day, you can achieve anything you put your mind to, and it just requires that you need to be able to focus, and just don't do it on a day where you need to be on your device all the time.
Yeah, you got to be on, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, cool. Well, I do have a mid ad, so that was the whole idea by having like you here and then Imel in the.
Oh yeah.
Pardon me, sorry. It was the whole idea of having you here and then Imel and the David Imel in the last half. So make sure you know where to find TK using all of the links that are in the show notes and in the description. Scheduling and technical difficulties aside, hopefully that you guys are enjoying this particular episode so far. So let's go ahead and head to the break, and I'll just read off an ad for you, and then we'll get into our final discussion regarding astrophotography on the Pixel 4.
Perfect.
Life is full of choices, and Belkin offers a variety of tech solutions that keep you connected to your world so you never miss a beat. Between Belkin's cables, screen protectors, and wireless charging docks, Belkin is the go-to brand for keeping your smartphone ready to go at any time. Now, Belkin's cables are built to last and supported with a 5-year warranty, so if you feel like you're constantly buying new chargers because they break or burn out, I mean, we've all been there, you should switch to Belkin. And with all of our personal information that's stored on them, you get a Belkin privacy screen protector to reclaim your privacy. Wireless charging stands and screen protectors are all great, but right now, from what Belkin sent me, I'm actually really appreciating the extra iPhone cables I now have for multiple bags. So the iPhone 11 Pro, which I got recently, only has one fast charging cable in the box. That's Lightning to USB-C, but now I have another one that is pretty stylish too. It's braided. It actually has a clip on it so you can keep the cord organized. And honestly, it's just a great addition to have. So you get better performance, better durability, better quality, just better with Belkin. Go to Belkin.com and use the promo code WEEKLY at checkout for a 30% discount. This offer is good until the end of January, so go now to Belkin.com and use the code WEEKLY for 30% off.
All right, I need to apologize real quick because my voice is not cooperating. This is the day before the rest of the show that you watched, so far at least, with TK. I did want to make sure I got David on because he's probably the person who's done the most. Well, you, rather, David, are the person who's done the most with one of the main features of the Pixel 4's camera, of which I'm finally getting to. I finally got my Pixel 4. This is the XL.
Yeah.
And I do completely believe that this phone is a little bit too big. I'm too used to the smaller phones by now. So I did have to put this this Moft thing on the back so that I could...
Oh, it's big.
it's big, but the reason why is because it can stand on its own. It's also a card holder. So, like, you know, I'm going to talk about this thing kind of in the future with the accessories video. But in any case, I have yet to mess with the camera extensively. I'm bringing it with me to a wedding this weekend, partially why I'm recording the show the way that I am right now. But you're the one who has gone out. Your Twitter actually was ablaze with so many likes and retweets because you actually tested out the astrophotography proper. So I kind of wanted to hear what your process was with that and what your thoughts were on the astrophotography.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I actually got together with Mark Lavoie, who makes the Pixel cameras software, about a week before the event to talk about the new features. And I think the one he was most excited about was the astrophotography. And little plug, I've got an article that you guys should all check out that I worked very hard on about that interview. So if you could drop that in show notes or something. But anyway, how this works is it's basically HDR Plus on steroids. So the way the HDR Plus works is that it takes a bunch of really short frames and then it stacks them together because the gyroscope in the phone knows exactly how much your hand has moved. So it's able to stack the pixels on top of each other, raise the shadows, and then usually when you raise shadows on an image that doesn't have a lot of data, you get random noise. But because it's taking the average pixel color of every single pixel, it's able to make those pixels basically eliminate noise because it's taking like 10 to 15 exposures. And so if you have one pixel that's white and 9 of the 10 pixels are blue, then it's going to be 90% blue, which is cool. So anyway, the way the astrophotography works is you go on Night Sight on your Pixel 4, and this is going to be ported to Pixel 3, and I'm sure that the people at XDA are porting them to every other phone right now.
Yeah, Gcam, all
the
the
cool
things.
thing about this, the cool thing about this is it's purely software. There's no hardware involved, which means that it's just something that we could have had like 3 years ago, but it's just now coming around. But basically what this does is in Night Sight, if the phone detects that your hand, that the phone has not moved at all, if it detects that it's like completely still, so this means on a tripod or even leaning against a rock. This is something that Mark was trying to make apparent to people, is that you don't need any stuff. You can just use your phone. If you're in an area where there's not too much light pollution, lean it against a rock and your phone will detect, oh, it's dark and I should do astro mode. So basically it does HDR plus, but instead of taking 10 to 15 extremely short exposures, it takes 15 to 16 15-second exposures.
Oh.
So it's actually long exposures, but it's burst its 15 to 16 long exposures and then does the same thing, but instead of moving the frames and aligning them because your hand is moving, it aligns them because stars move because the Earth is turning. Because it knows exactly how fast the Earth is turning and relative, and so then you're able to like bring out the stuff. And then also there's another layer applied called semantic segmentation, where the phone is able to understand, oh, that's the sky. I'm going to edit that a little bit differently. So what we did was, one of the nights before the review went live, a couple nights before, good friend Adam Molina, friend of the show, drove us, me and Chris Carlin, over to Montauk, which is like, it's a point, it's basically the farthest East Coast point of New York. It's cool. It's like near Long Island, and there's pretty much no light pollution there besides a lighthouse, and super dark. So even driving on the way there, you could see stars in the sky. And we just went out there. It's like 3 hours, and we just set the pixels up and we started taking photos, and they came out freaking amazing.
Okay, so these particular ones, I'm gonna put them up on the video. The ones with people in them. Okay, so obviously you and then the three of you. My first question is, like heading all the way out to Montauk, is it actually? Have you tried using the astrophotography in places where there is light pollution? Like, what is the effect that comes out because of that?
So I haven't really, but I know a couple of other people have, and from what I've seen is that it's just not as many. The stars just don't come out as well.
Oh, okay. You still get a really good exposure, though, right? It's just that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the thing about Astro Mode is, like, also the phone has to detect that it's dark enough, and if you're in like a city, I should test this maybe tonight. But if you're in a city, it's very likely that the phone would just say, just use night
regular
sight mode
night,
and will not trigger Astro, because it's in the night sight setting. It's not even a separate setting. The phone just says astrophotography on when you're in night sight.
Okay.
Yes. You can't toggle it on. But
okay, so when it was all of you guys in those photos, I'm sure this is a question. This is a question you got a lot on the Twitter feed.
Yeah.
Did you have to stay still for that?
Oh yeah. And 4 minutes, I will tell you, feels like a freaking eternity.
You know what? I have to give you guys a lot of credit, because you were really, really still. Like, it doesn't seem like you actually moved. You guys were still pretty clear. I feel like I would have blurry eyes because I keep blinking and I keep twitching.
Well, if you can throw a couple of these up, there's one that we turned, actually a friend of mine, Patrick Damaso, turned into like a music video poster. It was funny, with all of us sitting on a swing. Yeah. And that was pretty easy to stay still because we were able to like just attach ourselves to something. There's another one where I'm leaning against that swing, and Adam just flashed a flashlight in my face for like half a second in one of the portraits. There's another one where I am just standing, and if you look at my face at all, it's definitely blurry. Because if you're standing and your feet are the only anchor points, you're going to sway, and it's very, very hard for you to stay still enough. So if you're going to try this with yourself, I might recommend leaning against something or whatever. Actually, in the olden times.
This is how photography used to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much every photograph before used to be, the light was actually like engraved onto these sheets. And you had to stay still for like 5 to 15 minutes. And so they would actually put people like on chairs, and they would wear special suits under their clothes that would bolt them against the chairs so that they wouldn't move at all.
Oh, wow.
And they would have like a neck brace so that they wouldn't sway at all. And that's how that things used to be taken. So yeah, if you can stay still, then it's actually pretty sick, and it can be really, really cool for portraits if you want to get like the stars in your portraits.
Well, that's the thing though, right? So it's obviously these are night portraits, astrophotography portraits, whatever you want to call them, but this is a specific night sight mode, right? It's not like you can do this in the portrait mode or anything like that. That'd be too much to ask, right?
It's just in night sight, and then it just will say astrophotography on. You can't even toggle. You can't even say like, I want to use astrophotography.
Oh,
and I'm sure the guys at XDA could probably figure out how to separate it into a separate mode, and you could do some interesting stuff with that. But yeah, you can't say like, I want to do night sight. You just have to like have it still and then once it recognizes that it's not moving at all, it'll just say Astrophotography on, and you hit the button.
So you mentioned that you leaned it up against a rock. Did you not bring like a tripod or something for these purposes?
I use the tripod for most of the shots.
Oh, okay.
The shot of us on the swing though was I just grabbed a rock, and I wanted the angle to be super low. Mm-hmm. So I just grabbed a rock and leaned it up against it, and it worked really well. Like, honestly, like Mark Lavoie was saying, like, yeah, like you can do this with the rock. And honestly, what I feel like Google tries to do with their camera is they think of it more as a Swiss Army knife of imaging rather than a traditional camera system.
For sure.
You know, it's like you can do so much stuff with computation that it's becoming, you know, even with Huawei and their like 50x zoom, it's like, sure, it's blurry, but you can't see that with your regular eyes. So it's cool. And then OnePlus with their macro mode, and it's just like, I don't know, it's neat that these cameras are becoming more Swiss Army knives.
Yeah, because the day that we are recording this particular portion of the episode, this is when the Pixel's pretty much like available. I got Best Buy emails and whatnot, so it's available. So I guess that's why I wanted to talk about this a little bit, because this is going to be one of those nebulous, literally nebulous features that a lot of users out there might want to try out, but they don't really know where to start. So I guess for the final minute or so here, like any general tips that you want to give them, like if you look at David's own situation, he had to drive out really far to a place where there's like no light whatsoever. I guess for people on the West Coast, that might be like Death Valley or in the desert or something like that, or in the mountains rather. But when you're in LA, it's easy to get light polluted.
LA would be pretty hard. Eber from Hardware Connects, a friend of ours, he posted a photo that he took in Montreal. Now, again, I'm pretty sure Montreal has like more trees and probably less light pollution, so it was easier. But he showed a before and after of like what came out of the camera, and what came out of the camera was not so apparent, but he did a little bit of editing in Lightroom, probably like the dehaze filter or something, and he made it look really cool.
Nice.
So I think it's still possible to pull out the stuff even if it doesn't come out in auto mode. My photos were completely untouched because there was no light pollution. One other thing I want to say though is that the night that we did it, the moon was crazy bright, because I think it was like 2 days after the full moon, and it was nuts bright. But I would really like to try this again in Montauk or somewhere similar when the moon is like not full at all, because you get this crazy, the moon like kind of illuminates a lot of the sky. And we got banding in a couple of photos strictly because the moon was like, you could see the rays of light basically and how far they got. So it was interesting. But try it on a really dark night if you can. And I mean, hey, maybe if you can get it working in a city, then it might be cool.
Yeah, so I agree. We have to be somewhere where they literally turn off all the lights, which would be really tough.
Because it will detect how much light it has. Like if you take the Pixel and you put it face down on a table and you leave it there, it'll say Astrophotography on. So it doesn't need to know that there's a sky, but it does need to know that there's very, very, very little light. So
specific equipment that you might tell somebody to have? I mean, I know that I have a handheld tripod over here that I would use.
Yeah, anything that will keep it stable. Basically, that's it. Yeah,
there are a lot of phone clamps. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and link a couple of them in the show notes, so make sure you check those out. I mean, you have some big names like Manfrotto and GorillaPod for those kinds of things anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'll drop a non-sponsored sponsor in here, but Peak Design, I have their tripod. They sent it to me, full disclosure, and I'm not trying to get people to buy it. But they do have this little clip in the bottom that pulls out, and there's a phone mount in it that you can mount onto the tripod. So that's pretty cool because you can use it for your camera and for your phone.
Yeah,
so
I'm sure there are some enthusiasts out there who know about this for sure.
Yeah, probably. Or you can go on Amazon and buy a $5 phone clip. It's like, either way.
Yeah, pretty much. And just use like an existing tripod, because a lot of those phone clips should screw onto those plates.
Yeah.
And then just like point it up or point it over. I can imagine something like Lake Arrowhead would be pretty awesome. Oh, yeah. I should do that.
Yeah. I think one person did it over a lake and it was freaking awesome. And then the Northern Lights are in the official Google images, and I really want to try that. So I'll probably head to Norway at some point here. And
See how
mess with
casually you
that.
said that? I'm just going to head to Norway.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
in any case, I just wanted to make sure to get some of that because I know that not too many people have actually done the astrophotography. I know you did, so I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, mine totally blew the hell up. I have 5,500 likes on that, and I've never got that many likes on a tweet before.
That's awesome. So yeah, make sure you follow them all over social media. Given that my voice is really not cooperating right now, I'm going to go ahead and do the outro after the fact, where I'll go ahead and give you all the links and everywhere that you can find TK and, of course, David Imel, who you're watching right now. So let's go ahead and pop over to the outro.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to the podcast, especially with how crazy the scheduling was and also with how weird my voice was being in a couple of segments. But in any case, head over to the show notes and also to the description if you're watching the YouTube channel so that you can see all the links for both TK Bay and David Imel. Also, links for myself at JVTechT and also for Pocketnow. And we will see you in our next episode.